The Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Household Affordability Index has recorded that the average cost of the household food basket for 2023 is R4,917.42. This means that in just 1 month compared to December last year, consumers are paying 13% more for basic foodstuff. The organization conducts research by comparing a basic food basket comprising 44 core food items, most frequently purchased by lower-income households, who make up most households in the country. In the basket, items like flour and oil, vegetables, potatoes and onions have increased. The basic goods which increased are onions at 75%, cooking oil by 32%, potatoes rose by 30%, samp 29%, and cake flour by 28%.
When we look at the cost of our basket in terms of inflation, so when we look at the cost of the basket in February 2023, then we see it is more expensive by about 572 Rand than it was a year ago. And that is essentially about a 13% increase. So there has been a 13% increase in the cost of our basket just within 1 year. Couple that with increases in transport, increases in electricity prices, and electricity has a direct impact on food because most of our basic foods requires cooking. So South Africans tend to eat a lot of maize meal, we eat stews, potatoes, onions, rice, all of which requires electricity. So when electricity prices increase, what essentially it means is that there is less money available to buy food.
In eThekwini, residents are digging deeper in their pockets. The organization says it's a knock-on effect of the 2021 July unrest, which saw the N3 and N2 highways closed and the transportation of goods from Durban and Richards Bay to the industrial hub of Johannesburg and Cape Town halted. Damage to transport infrastructure caused fuel and food shortages. The harvesting and distribution of fresh produce were also interrupted. Abrams says farmers are having to pay more for road freight insurance, which is affecting citizens.
When we look at the average of that basket across South Africa in February of 2023, then we see the cost of that basket was 4,928 Rand. But when we look at the city at eThekwini, then we see that the cost of that basket in eThekwini is higher than the national average. It's 4,968. So it's about 40 or so Rand more. It's come down from highs about a year ago. And that's connected for a number of reasons. Firstly, it is still the lingering impact of the unrest that we had in 2021, which has now made trucks and farmers in this area having to pay more for insurance, for instance, which is passed on to the consumer. Also, the situation in eThekwini is that we import a lot of our food. So we bring our food in over long distances. And this is a difference between eThekwini and the city of Cape Town, for instance.
Consumers say they have tightened their belts.
We hardly ever eat red meat anymore. We eat chicken mostly if there's any meat or mince. But the red meat, steaks, chops and things like that, yeah, those things are out the budget. And obviously, you know, the more expensive things like, you know, cheeses and, you know, we've had to cut down quite a bit. We're growing our own veggies now because that saves us quite a bit of money.
We used to buy venison, not anymore because of the price. Mutton too has gone sky high. So we live on chicken because it's the basics and it's cheapest ever.
We have cut down on luxuries like the ice cream, the chocolates, cool drink, but still buying our normal milk, bread, and the basics.
It's just these 2 trolleys for our household, where we used to pay like, what was the baby, like 2 point something. We're now paying like 5,000 Rand for just everything. So there's nothing that we can omit, unfortunately. It's all like necessities.
What are some of the essentials?
Oh, cooking oil. We were just looking at the cooking oil, price of cooking oil. The olive oil, 1 bottle's like $80. where we used to buy it, same place, we used to buy it for like 40 something rand.
Bread has gone up significantly in the past, I say, year or so. We actually buy in quite a lot of loaves, and because of the shelf life, you have to keep it in the freezer, so that when you do need it at that time, you can just defrost and have it. So that's what we have to manage during the course of the week.
Abrams says lower-income households who rely solely on grants will not be able to afford all the basic food items.
Now, when you compare that to the social relief grant of 350, and you ask, what can I buy with that? Then essentially you will be able to buy about 30 loaves of bread, not more than that, which means a loaf of bread a day will cost you about 350, which is what the social grant of relief brings in to a person who is unemployed.
Grant recipients say they cannot survive on a 350 rand grant.
For this 350, I can only buy maize meal and rice. Sometimes I wish I could buy flour and have some money left for stew like meat, but it's impossible. We also need to pay for transport. The 350 is basically nothing. Rice is just about 150 rand. After buying maize meal, you are just left with only 100 rand. And you buy potatoes and onions, and you are left with only transport money. It is extremely tough. As you can see my grocery, I spent about 700 rand, and at home, I'm only left with 10 rand worth of prepaid electricity. Where have you ever seen a bag of potatoes that are less than 10 kg but are costing almost 100 rand? I don't even want to talk about the cost of bread. I spent over 30 rand just for 2 loaves.
Consumers are waiting with bated breath as inflation rate is expected to go up again. Many are hoping there might be a respite as they struggle to put food on the table. Jayed Paulse, SABC News, Durban.